Hello everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm Notorious Dub, and if you've ever played a good bit of Viper, you've probably heard she's just not that great on Haven. But with her resurgence into the meta and her now becoming one of, if not the best defensive agent, the difficulty of Haven's defense almost begs you to play Viper because of how much area she can actually cut off with her utility. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the best one-ways, executes, and post-plant lineups to not only lock down that impossible Haven defense, but also cut the defenders out of sights when you're attacking and guarantee yourself 1 rounds after you get the bomb plant down. So as Viper shoots back into the meta, let's take another look at why Viper is underrated on Haven and should be picked up as a top tier pick on her lowest played map. But as always, before we get too deep into the video, we have to start with our question of the day. And today I wanted to ask you guys, what is the most difficult thing about Valorant for you right now? I love entry fragging and I love lurking, but being the 3rd or 4th man on site is just so unnatural to me. But as a Raze and a Viper player, sometimes that 3rd and 4th man role is exactly where I need to be. So learning not to overextend for action and end up dying, but also not sitting too far back where I don't have an impact in the round. It's just a difficult role that I need to learn to be a better player. But I'm sure you guys have way different problems than me, which is exactly why I want to hear from you. So let me know in the comments down below, what is the most difficult thing for you right now in Valorant? But as always, let's get started with our one-ways because they're going to be our standard defensive setup, and the Toxin Wall is generally going to be used for retaking. But if your team is struggling to hold a site, feel free to Toxin Wall the other sites from where you're holding so you can slow down that initial site take. But first of all, let's talk about Garage, because Garage control is a huge impact area for both attacking and defending. And as a Viper, losing Garage is nearly impossible with this one way. To throw it, simply go into the window of Garage and line yourself up against the wall in the very center in line with the cutoff tip in the pattern of the floor. From there, slide over 1 triangle to the tip of the next pattern, and then aim at the dark part of the cutoff square below the light fixture. Left click and voila, a one-way that completely blocks the enemy's line of sight on you if you're playing in window and gives you a ton of vision on the enemy's legs and out into grass. But remember, if you're not playing in window or you get smoked off, it's best to relocate to the hallway to see inside of Garage. That way you can still see that entrance and enemies can't see you if they try to crouch or maneuver their way in any way. They cannot see you underneath the smoke. And we can go ahead and cover C long since we're already in Garage. So for this, line yourself up just below the isolated dark brick just outside to the left of Garage beside the box on the entrance to C. From there, aim at the top right corner of the box so it will land right on top, and then jump and right click and you'll have a perfect one-way to cut off a ton of the enemy's vision of the immediate threat from Garage whenever they're walking up long C into sight. And this is the perfect one-way to use if you're trying to play logs because the enemies just really can't challenge you here. But keep in mind, if you let them back all the way up to the wall and crouch, they do have the ability to see you if you're playing in Garage. But you'll be able to see them much before they actually get to that point, so you still have the advantage. But next up, let's go ahead and cover the A side one-ways. Now, there aren't any active one-ways that work on site for peeking early into short or long, so instead we're using one-ways to prevent the site take. For A short, stand on the far side of the box outside of sewers just beside the corner so you get the most coverage, and aim at the top of the triangle of the metal support cage and jump right click once again. And this one way is going to be perfect for holding from heaven or the right side of short and allows you to peek from the left side of the default box. Just be careful for the long peek, and if you overswing from this area of the angle, then they can see you very quickly once you get a couple steps past. But then we have the A long one way, and you can actually do this exact same lineup that you use on the other one, just on the far left side of the long box. But instead I'm going to show you a lineup from heaven because that's usually the mix-up you're going to use. For this lineup, just position yourself in the right side of the window of heaven and aim at the top left corner of the A long box and just hit a running throw. It has a ton of leeway and room for error, so don't worry too much about the timing, but the one way gives you a ton of information on long and blocks a lot of the enemy sight lines. But for this lineup, if the enemy walks deep into the A long pocket, they will be able to see you, but you will see them a little bit before, so you have a slight advantage. But with the smoke burst coming out of the cloud, oftentimes the enemies will have a very tough time getting an accurate shot off on you because you'll be fading in and out of their vision because they have these puffs of cloud that just stop them from being able to see you. But before we get into the executes, remember, if you're serious about improving, then go to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you how to win more gunfights, master your agent, and so much more. It's also backed by our rank improvement guarantee, so you really have nothing to lose. So come join over 500,000 satisfied members of SkillCapped, improve that KDA, and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link is in the description below. But then of course we have to talk about Viper's attacking side because that's where so many people fall short on Viper. So let's start with the most difficult bomb site to retake, A site. So to start off, the default wall that you're going to be throwing is going to cut off the top of the box outside of short all the way through to the back of sight through the default box in the middle. And make sure you throw this from tucked in the corner just outside of a lobby so you get the most distance onto sight. But with Viper, you typically want to take the bomb site from long because it's way easier to isolate angles from here and clear the area out before actually dropping your wall and finishing the site take. And the biggest problem here is that heaven isn't covered, but the smoke is actually super easy to throw and very consistent. Just jump on top of the sandbags by the concrete blocks in the middle of long and aim at the top right corner of the roof directly in front of you with your crosshair. From there, just jump and throw at the same time and you have a smoke with a ton of room for error that perfectly smokes off heaven for you to continuously smoke and play around throughout the site take in the post plant. But then of course we have B site, and typically you're not going to want to fully execute B site unless you have your ultimate. Instead, you're going to use it as a mix-up to cause a little bit of chaos. And with these, we have toxic walls that give you access to the A connector and the C connector. Starting with the wall for A connector, just tuck yourself in the corner outside of garage and line your wall up with your mini map to cut straight across the corner of the A side of the big box on the middle of sight. And this curtain creates no angles that can surprise you and gives you and your team essentially a free path to get through and trap the enemies that are playing on A site to separate them from their team and get those 2 picks before you actually commit, finish the site take, and then have to deal with the retake. And then the C connector split is a little bit riskier, but if you want to use this, just make your way to anywhere on top of the platforms next to the wall outside of A. As long as you're on top of these, it doesn't really matter where you stand too much, but throw your wall once again using the mini map to cut off the back left corner of the box on site closest to C connector. And this one is going to do the same exact thing, but it's going to give your teammates a path into C site or garage from an unorthodox area. But make sure you have someone watching behind you while you're walking through and you take control of CT. But these mix-ups are great for save rounds to catch off the enemy team, play for trades, and just put them in areas that they don't want to be in, or if their enemy team is just giving up B control in favor of stacking sites like we're seeing way too many people start doing. But then of course we have to talk about C site, and C site is honestly one of the easier executes to do on Haven. So to start with, you're going to be getting a ton of value out of your wall. So start by standing on the far right side of this threshold outside of C. From there, aim your toxic wall to cut off the box in the back of sight and the left of the main box on site to reduce the angles you have to worry about on the initial take so you can establish early control before the rotations come in. And then for your poison orb, line up in the exact same position beside the threshold and aim at the top right leaf on the middle branch above the lantern, and high enough to be in line with the tip of the leaf on the branch to the right. A simple jump throw there lands a smoke perfectly on plateau, and both of these smokes allow you to clear all of the early angles for free without danger, and then slowly drop them down one by one to clear out and take control of the rest of sight before you actually have to deny the post plant. But of course, it wouldn't be a Viper guide without talking about what makes her so overpowered in the meta right now, her post plant molly lineups. So let's get into the most effective ones that you're going to need to know to start playing Viper on Haven right now. So starting with C site, there are 2 plant locations that are the most popular, tucked in the corner of default and planted beside the box on site so it's visible from long. And whenever the bomb is tucked in default, take yourself all the way to the back corner of long and aim at the far left corner of the rock spire, but not with your crosshair. Use the far right edge of your snakebite icon to line up with the corner of the spire and left click. With that, you have a perfect molly that lands directly on default. But this molly does take about 4 seconds to land, so make sure to throw it early and pop that poison orb as well. But for the open plant location, which is usually where you're going to be planting, you have a much safer lineup that the enemies have to walk deep down long to actually stop. For this one, you're going to tuck yourself in the opposite corner from before, and use the top left corner of your toxin bar as the lineup. Aim that corner at the tip of the power pole on top of the house, and you have a very quick and consistent lineup that covers a ton of area on the open plant spot. And for B side, here's a trick that's a very easy way to get your molly on default. Simply go to either edge of mid and bounce your molly off of the opposite threshold of B site, and the molly will land perfectly on the bomb in front. But if you need to be safer and guarantee that stall, then you can throw the same molly from all the way back in T-spawn if you really need to be safe with it. And the lineup is actually very simple. Just stand in front of the very middle drain pipe in the wall and aim at the very tip of the bell tower. And this is actually a very quick landing molly that perfectly covers the default plant on B site, so you really don't have to worry about preemptively mollying. You can wait for the enemy to tap if you have a decent reaction time, and make sure to pop that poison orb. And finally we have A site, and with this you're going to win a ton of rounds with it because teams take way too long to retake A site as is. For this molly, jump on the sandbags once again and look at the Heaven Tower, and just aim right at the farthest left peg of the band that goes around the building. A simple left click from there drops the molly pretty quickly and covers the default plant snipe location. And this is also a close enough molly to give you enough time to go peek after both mollies fade, just in case the round is still winnable for the enemy team. Maybe they retook the site too early and you didn't have enough time to actually stall them out and then win off the post plant. But remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com. Link is in the description below. But what do you guys think about Viper on Haven? And does she have a spot in the Haven meta? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn those notification bells on, because we here at SkillCapped have a ton more comprehensive premium guides coming your way that you're going to want to stay up to date with so you can stay ahead of the pack. As always, I want to thank you for spending this little bit of your day with us, and I'm Notorious Dub, signing off.